Welcome to. I'm trying to do two things at once. Okay.
Why did you make the face?
Because I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm just trying to like prepare myself. Okay.
Mentally prep.
Mentally
Not
prep.
there yet, guys.
It was one of those things where I was doing two things at once, and I was like, "Oh, I'm trying to type as I'm trying to introduce the podcast. That doesn't work." But like, I do sometimes type while you're talking if I'm like trying to get two things done at once. And so I was like, "Wait, Hannah, you need to stop. You can't do these two things at once. Like, you can listen to Laura and type. You cannot talk and type about two
Talking
different
and
things.
typing don't work.
Not really.
Don't work.
Okay. Welcome to our pod. And by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. This week, we are finishing our discussion on The Gathering Storm by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. But before we get into the women of this book, Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So I'm not prepared. Let me pull up my Goodreads because I actually read a handful of things recently.
You did. And we've been like, guys, we actually recorded last Wednesday. And so it's been about a half. It's been about a week and a half since we sat down to talk. And the way we've been actually like texting each other about our reading habits has been really nice and refreshing because it's just one of those moments where you can tell that we really enjoy talking, but we don't need to just have like a weekly check-in. We actually want to check in with each other sometimes. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's actually been probably a good reading month for both of us. I feel like it's been a healthier reading month as well.
It helps when you start off on a good foot when you're like, hey, I enjoyed this random book I'm gonna have to talk about for a month.
It's usually like we read a Wheel of Time book at the beginning of the month, and for some reason that sets the tone for us, or at least it does for me. A lot of times where I'm like, if I hate this book, then the rest of the month is screwed. But like, I know whenever we read Winter's Heart, I think I only read 2 books that month, and I feel like it just set the tone for me. But this month I read a lot actually. And it's definitely got to do with the fact that I liked The Gathering Storm. So
I haven't read as much as you have. You've definitely read more.
I've done a lot of graphic novels though.
You have done a lot of graphic novels, and I've been doing a ton of audiobooks because we've mentioned this. Hannah's like in the best healthy place she's been in such a long time that like I've cleaned my house from top to bottom. So I've been more focused on like not reading at night, but I'm in the mental state of, hey, I'm going to clean out my fridge tonight. And I think that guys, follow your bliss. My cleaning of my apartment is giving me bliss. I just picked out a bunch of clothes to donate today. I cleaned out all of my drawers. I have much less clothes bogging me down now. And it's just been great.
Sign that you're cleaning hardcore is when you start hitting the drawers.
Oh my gosh. And I've been hitting the drawers so hardcore. And it was actually very funny because last night I went to Target by myself to like pick up some bins because when the rat got in, it like destroyed some bins that we keep dog supplies in. And so I had to like replace them. So I went to go pick them up. And then I was at Target. It was Friday night. I was just like, oh, I'm going to walk, around, pick up some stuff. And I get a flowers delivered monthly. Like I have a monthly flower subscription because I'm single and it's awesome. And, whenever we have to put it down, we have to put like a rag underneath and like to protect our table. And I saw like a table mat for the middle of the table. And I was like, oh yeah, like we keep having to put this vase down. So this will protect it. I do that with my coffee on my desk. And I brought it home and my roommate was like, Hannah, nothing has showed me you're in a healthier place more than you just considering the fact that you need somewhere to put your flowers. And you just thought to buy this. Like, she's like, that's either someone who's in the greatest mental health of their life or someone who's in the worst. And there's really
no you're like hyper focusing on one thing like that. Like, this needs to happen. I need a poster for this.
I need some control in my life and this will do it for me.
Yeah.
It was just like, I was like, oh yeah, I could use that. And so we did that. I've been cleaning out all of our dog bins. Next on my list is attacking our linen cupboard and our record cabinet and cleaning out the bottom of my kitchen cabinets because I did all the tops this week. So it's been a great cleaning week and I've done many audiobooks, but we were talking about what books you were reading, Laura.
Okay.
Laura's had a great reading month.
Yeah. So last time we talked, I think I said One Italian Summer was the book that I had listened to. Wasn't a big fan. But then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney. I really liked that. So I know that it's gotten really mixed reviews, because people seem to either be like, I love this book, or they're like, I don't get it.
Right.
I don't know many people that like hate it, but they're just like, I don't get what the hype is about. But yes. I thought it was, and I wouldn't say it's definitely not like a feel good book or anything.
No, it's a very deep mental health book.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just a book that's frustrating and awkward at times, and just you feel so many things when you're reading it. And I think that pretty much anyone who's been a teenager can relate to a lot of those experiences, or who's been through college can relate to a lot of the experiences of the characters, and feeling out of place and trying to find their place, and having someone to connect with. And I just thought it was just a really interesting and really good book. And I was just probably in the right space to read it too. So I really liked that one.
What I really like about that book, especially, is like, I really like books where it kind of shows that your place in life is not permanent. I feel like so many books, it's like, oh, they were popular in high school, so they're popular throughout. Or they're like, oh, they're popular in high school, so they just never move out of their hometown so that they can be well beloved.
And that happens.
I mean, it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't.
But this is a good representation of how like somebody who can be the it person in high school, everything changes for them once they step out of that space, and vice versa. Somebody who really struggles in high school, can become someone that is really well liked in a different experience. And how it's just interesting because those two people, the way that they had their high school relationship and how they were treated in high school changed, but as they grew as people, their relationship also grew, but they still just leaned on each other because they were so connected. And I just thought it was beautiful, and at the same time just strange and interesting. So
and for the two people who don't know this book we're talking about, it's a book about two people who kind of grow up in the same hometown. There's a lot of class issues where she is like in a very wealthy family, was kind of like an abusive brother, and his mom and father, and his mom is the house cleaner for their home. And they kind of start a very weird relationship with each other throughout the years. They go to college together, and there are certain moments where she's growing without him, where he's growing without her. And it's kind of just about coming into your own as a person, and how sometimes that can hurt people around you. It's very complicated. It's a very unique
They
book.
definitely like weave in and out of each other's lives too, and just kind of form a strange dependency on each other.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
I remember when I was reading that book, it was like, I brought it in with me, and I often read in the elevator because I worked on like the 42nd floor. And one of the summer interns was there, and he's like, what are you reading? And I was like, I just started it. I didn't realize it was a romance. And then later I was like, this is not a romance.
No, it's not.
But I thought it was at the beginning. And he's like, well, is it good? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know yet. But and then I was like, I might not finish this book. And then I sat there after work and read through like all of it. And I was like, oh, I think I very much enjoyed this book, but it was one that made me feel very weird. So
I mean, you go through a lot of emotions, because at times I'm like, oh, that was so sweet. And then other times I'm like, oh, that was so uncomfortable to just read that. Why did that happen? So you go through a lot of emotions with that book, but that was part of my Irish reading streak, I guess.
I know.
Because then I read We Are the Brennans by Tracey Lange. And that one, I had known nothing about it. I just found it in the free little library in my hometown. So I was like, oh, yeah. And it was an ARC too. So that was interesting.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it was a book about an Irish family and their dynamic together, and how they also were all just like in the same hometown and just all very interconnected and dealing with traumas, and how they kind of move forward with that trauma.
Right.
And it really surprised me, because I was expecting a lot less from this book, honestly, because it's a book of the month thing. It's been all over Bookstagram. Whenever I see that, I'm like, okay, my expectations are lower, because this is such a popular book. I don't know why that happens to me, but whenever I see books getting tons of hype, I just like immediately lower my expectations.
Same every single time. Yeah, I'm right there with you every time. I'm just
but this one I was pleasantly surprised by.
Oh, good.
So I was like, you know what? This one maybe not deserving all the hype that it's getting, but it was a good book.
It was good. So, yeah.
Then I read a graphic novel, Waves, and it was by, let me get the Ingrid Chabbert, and then or Chabbert. I am terrible with names, people.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. And then Carole Maurel. I'm so sorry. Please, authors, come after me. That was the illustrator.
rated 1 star. Our pod. She got my name wrong.
She said my name wrong. That evil white woman. So I watched this video on Instagram. This is me going off on a tangent, but this woman was saying how she said her name and she said, white people will correct you if you don't get their name right. Start correcting them so they say your name right. And she said her name like 3 times in the video. I could not say it still. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Just watch like 2 minutes of this woman pronouncing her name and I still can't say it. Oh, I'm awful. I'm the problem. But anyway, Waves, the graphic novel, it's about a couple that spends years trying to have children and they finally get pregnant and then they experience some heartbreak. And it's a really, really short book, but it's just heartbreaking and beautiful in the journey that this woman goes through and how their relationship is kind of tested throughout this. And I think like anybody who's experiencing any kind of fertility journey can relate to something like this, and or infertility journey as well can relate to this. And it was really sad. I'll say that. So not for everybody. If you're not in the right headspace, don't read it. But if you have not experienced infertility, I would recommend it because there's a lot of people who don't really understand what people go through. Right. Especially people that it's like super easy to get pregnant, that it just happens like right away, no problem. I would really encourage people to like look into infertility and the experience that people who struggle with infertility go through, just to give yourself a little more understanding, because it is a journey and it's really difficult for a lot of people and the emotions involved are really hard and all of the things involved are really hard with it. So I think it's just a good introduction to people who don't really understand to read a short graphic novel like this. It was really well done. And then Hannah, I read For Your Birthday. I was late, but
it's okay. It still counts.
I read it this month. It's still in your birthday month. We're still celebrating. Persuasion by Jane Austen.
Persuasion for me, and she loved it.
Guys. It was so good. Talk about your place.
No,
that was this. I don't know how she's able to handle relationships and class issues so deftly, but she does it. And the way that she just looks at these different relationships kind of from like an outside perspective where you're like, oh, those two probably shouldn't end up together because they're very different. And she's like, well, just think about this relationship. They both get things from this relationship. So that's why they want to be together. And you're like, oh, dang it, Jane, you are good.
Jane Austen's Persuasion is one of the best. It's her best novel.
It's so good.
It's just her best novel.
I texted you and I was like, Hannah, I don't hate me for this, but this is better than Pride and Prejudice, because I know you love Pride and Prejudice, but I was like really into this book and I thought, is it just me or is this better? And
it's her best. It's her best novel. It's her most mature novel. It was one of the last ones she ever wrote. Guys, I like my obsession with Jane Austen. It's hyper fixated at this point. And I always say Pride and Prejudice is my deepest loved one because I grew up with it.
I think it is for most Austen fans.
Yes, it is. Mine is definitely, it's just like, cause I've grown up with Pride and Prejudice from such a young age, but Persuasion is, I also loved I sent Laura like the 2007, or no, it wasn't the 2007. It's like a 1997 movie that I used to watch constantly. And I was obsessed with it. And they had great casting where like Anne Elliot was Yeah, it's Anne Elliot, right? Miss
In
Elliot.
Persuasion.
In Persuasion, yeah.
Yeah.
Where Anne is like not the prettiest actress in the
Mhm.
world.
Mhm.
And Captain Wentworth is like a beleaguered man who like, it's like, oh yeah, I could get
Yeah.
why you think he was hot in his younger days, but they
Yeah.
are like cast as much older people where it's like, oh, she probably was plain when they met, but like he saw something in her. And Persuasion is one of those books where she was persuaded at a young age not to get married to him.
And then she kind of comes into her own and realizes, okay, well, it was good for me not to do that. But she also has like so many good moments in this book where it's like she kind of like looks around at these people and she's like, shouldn't we value people for like, I don't know, things besides just having a lot of money? Like you can have a lot of money, but these people are really boring. Like they have no hobbies, no interests. They don't read. They don't have any music or anything like that. Shouldn't people be valued for, I don't know, being good at things, liking things, having interests or knowledge? Is that not a thing? She questions so many things, which is,
oh yeah,
I love it.
Well, it's Austen at her oldest age. So it's like her saying, you know, Austen never married. And it's her looking around, I think, when she's much older and being like, I still have value because I've learned. What are all these people talking about? Is it everything ridiculous? And like Austen's one of the most, she's so humorous in all of her work.
Oh yeah.
Where, like the way she writes, I'm sitting there and like, this is hilarious just because it's so random. Like what she
you texted me, you're like, this isn't the funniest book. And I was, I don't know, it's still pretty funny at times. But it's not like it's totally lacking in humor.
No, but like it's not, you know, Emma is one of her like satires and everything. Sure. You know, like she has quite a few satires that I think people don't recognize Emma as the satire it is. Like they're always like, oh, that one character is the worst. I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be a satire. Right. They are supposed to be the worst. But this one is one of her more like romancy, very strictly straightforward romance. There's just humor in it. There is no sister character who like is a confidant, so it's very much Anne on her own watching things happen, which is very unique. I know it's
I kind of like that of having characters process things on their own. It's I mean, often you need another character to process things with just because it's easier to write and it makes sense for the story. But a lot of times it's refreshing to have just that one sole character go through the process themselves. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think Austen does a really good job as like a narrator where it's always from the outside looking in. It's like, it's always discussing what Anne is going through. So it's almost like the narrator could be in conversation with her herself. So I think glad
Jane Austen is like surprisingly a author of classics where it's like, I myself am intimidated by classics, so I have not read a lot of them. They scare me. And I think it's because the language, you feel like, oh, I'm not going to be able to understand this. But Jane Austen novels are a rarity because you can understand the language easily and understand what's going on. You can get the jokes. Whereas I feel like some classics, I'm like, I have no clue what's going on here.
Well, she also wrote like, I mean, she was technically writing for newspapers and everything. Like they're not technically, so they're almost made for mass consumption. But I'm so glad my next move for Laura will be to get her to either read Pachinko or Sense and Sensibility. We'll see, because Pachinko, more Austen. It's so good. I'm so glad you enjoyed. I've read all of her works multiple times. So people, I just have no chill when people.
I was reading those, and I was like, "Lemony Snicket!"
Yay! Yes. So we play a game through our Twitter and our Instagram where I'm always like, oh, pick a number 1 through 400 of like Hannah's book she owns, and she'll tell you what book to read this month. And Veronica picked one, and I was like, I am so sorry. This one was purchased during one of my pretentious phases. It is a William S. Burroughs novel. And she was like, oh my gosh, I bought the same one during one of my pretentious like moments. And I was like, oh. The fact that we were both like, I feel pretentious, cis white man novel. So I definitely had those.
I think it's interesting that you guys like had those things where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna buy classics or whatever. Like I feel like whenever I've gotten classics, I get them at the library, or like I've just owned them for a long time because it's like, oh, I had to have this for English class and we never read the book. So I don't know. I feel like if I go to the bookstore, I will not get a classic because I'm like, Laura, are you gonna love it? Do you want to read it multiple times?
Right.
Don't lie to yourself. Get it from the library.
It was very much an English major lawyer thing where I was like, oh, I just want one of those like regal book, collections where
the cloth bound covers, like beautiful, like, oh yeah,
exactly.
Wants that.
Golden emblem 8 pages. Yeah, that was recently my therapist was like, I know you usually only buy classics. And I'm like, oh, that ship has sailed. It's sailed so far down the horizon. I can't even see it anymore. As Rory Gilmore would say, it's probably in Fiji by now. But yes, have you read anything else, or is Persuasion?
That's it for my reading, just the 4 of them. And but I watched an episode of Anxious People on Netflix.
Okay, how was it?
Okay, so I don't know how to feel about it. I really like the book. I'm a Bach fan, Bachmanian. I will steal that from the
You are a Bachmanian. You are correct. Good job.
But I don't know how I feel about the TV show so far. It obviously has not hooked me because I've only watched 1 episode, but I feel like it's a very difficult book to adapt.
Okay.
I won't spoil it, but there's like a lot of different things going on. And I think it's hard to incorporate that in a TV show format, whereas it's a little bit easy. This rarely happens that it's easier to explain the story via written word than it is via a TV show. But I think it is in this case where the book is going to be better than the TV show because certain things are given away, and the way that the storylines kind of cross and need to be separated, it doesn't come off as interesting in the TV show, or at least it hasn't so far to me in 1 episode.
So I own the book. I do not actually know what the book is about. Can you give us like a highlights that's not going to ruin everything? Like it's about 2 people and something kind of thing.
So it's a bank robbery occurs, and there are multiple people who are held in a hostage situation. And the people in this hostage situation all have a different way that they ended up in this hostage situation. And so like the first episode of the show is following just like 2 people that are involved in this situation in one way. And in the book, it's also handled like that, where you kind of get perspectives from each different character, but in this, you're kind of seeing characters cross over in the backgrounds or have brief appearances into this one character's storyline in this episode. And I feel like it's easier to take it in via the book than it is the show. And right off the bat in the show, there's something that's revealed that isn't revealed until a long ways into the book. And I felt like that kind of ruined something, but maybe not. Maybe I'm putting way too much pressure on the TV show. Maybe, I don't know. I just, right now the TV 1 episode in, so I'm not giving it too much of a chance apparently. Of course. It hasn't hooked me 1 episode in.
Okay, that sounds
good. And
then
I watched Bridgerton, not all of it.
We've both been watching Bridgerton. What do you think so far?
Okay, so they haven't been as sexy and daring. I feel
they
like
have not been as sexy and daring. They really needed Regé-Jean Page to come back and have him and Daphne just do all the sex scenes, because I think that would have helped.
I think he would have drawn the audiences, because I don't know that a lot of people are probably watching this season, but I think they kind of expected that not a lot of people would watch this season. So they're playing towards a safer strategy to keep some of their viewers, you know what I mean? Like a certain crowd of a certain age.
I don't know. I might disagree a little bit. I actually think it's more of the plot device of this novel is a lot harder.
Maybe. And I think it's difficult when also I noticed like the coloring and everything in this
so much brighter.
Episode, it's so much brighter and more pastels and stuff like that. The sets are different. Whereas in the first season, there was so much like mystery and dark, like shadows, and the wardrobe was very different, where the Duke wore a lot of dark colors and things like that, because he was kind of this mysterious character and nobody kind of knew what was going on with him. We know more about Anthony, so there's less mystery there, but they really could have made him a little more of a rake than they kept saying he was. They're like, oh, he's such a rake. And it's like, last season, he's really toned it down.
Yeah.
The only thing funny he does is like interview some people in a quick montage.
I do think it's very straight. I don't think it's as good. I actually just told my roommate something with like the whole color.
Okay, but I don't think it's as good as the first season.
I would agree. I actually literally just told my roommate with what you're talking about with the coloring and with the way it feels different. I said, I either think that they got an influx of too much money, but it was still too little money to do what they could have done with it. Like it was almost too much to make you feel how fake it was.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I was like, I hate to say that they don't have as much money as they did in the first season, but then I'm like, it's Shondaland, and that was like, besides The Witcher, like one of the most popular shows on Netflix that year. So that seems nearly impossible that they don't have enough money.
Oh no, I think they got more money this season, but I think they did I think a little bit of it is the COVID-ness of it all.
Sure.
Because I pointed this out to Laura. There's a hilarious, like in the third episode, Bridgerton spoilers, guys.
Tons
in the third episode,
spoilers.
They do a flashback and it's like 10 years ago. And then you enter in on Anthony, who's supposed to be 19 in this scene, but they don't get a younger actor to play him.
20-year-old father.
And like they don't get a younger actor to age him down. It's just this 33-year-old man playing.
But the
19.
mom is the same mom, the same age.
The same mom. And then the dad is literally only 13 years older than the person who plays Anthony. And so, and you do not have any dynamic between them between this scene.
Well, because you don't know who he is.
Right. And so I'm like, I'm just looking at these two adult friends hanging out, really. Like I'm not looking at a parent and his child. And
because they have an amount of dialogue before you finally realize, oh, this is the father. Like you should have started that off like right away, like, father, come over here. Like say something so we know who this is.
Oh, I knew immediately it was the father. I was like, oh my gosh, they're totally playing up.
I didn't know. I thought it was like a friend at first. They picked like the least interesting person for a flashback thing. Why did they not pick one of the Sharmas for the flashback? Why couldn't Kate Sharma have been the flashback person? Because Simon always got the flashbacks in the first season, but that was interesting. You learn more about his backstory because he was so mysterious. Now Kate Sharma is the mysterious one. Why are we not getting her flashbacks? I want Kate flashbacks.
So I do agree with you. I think it's because they're like, well, we have to show you why Anthony was such a dick in season 1 because they have to make you like him.
I mean, we get it.
I know, like we get it. He's gonna change.
We still liked him.
I don't need it. He's explained himself a million times during the show, so I didn't need a flashback for that. Also, if you want to give me a flashback to show why he's like why you should like him now, it shouldn't be I'm such a dick because my dad once died and we had a very emotionally healthy relationship and I missed him. That's a bad reason to be a bad person. Like it's not effective. And also, I do think they could have done, sorry, I'm such like, guys, I'm just on too much caffeine today. They do an effective job technically. Like if they had gotten a younger actor to play him, showing like a 19-year-old who's really overwhelmed with suddenly being the man of the house. And then like,
oh yeah, that's a relatable situation.
Right. And he's so overwhelmed, but we know throughout the years, he's like become a very shut down person. If you see a 19-year-old do that, and then they're like in the third episode, there's a moment where he freaks out and he like becomes very emotionally vulnerable with the Kate character. It becomes more effective if that's the first time we've seen adult Anthony do that. But we've seen adult Anthony do that playing a 19-year-old in the same episode. And so it's like, yeah, I've already seen this happen. It's not an effective medium to watch him and be like, don't worry, now he's older. And it's like, no, he's not. That man is 33.
He's only minutes older.
It's and it's
you guys shot this scene 5 minutes ago, and then you're like, okay, we did the flashback. Now let's do the present day.
Right,
he's
like
only aged minutes. The sideburns are still the same. Like he didn't even go through the long sideburn stage again. He didn't have the chops like he did in season 1.
All they did was pasted an extra layer of foundation on his face. And they're like, you're 19 now.
They made it a little bit blurrier.
Oh my God. And then they also got children actors to play the other siblings because they were supposed to be so much younger. And all of them are just blurry. So they didn't actually have to hire anyone who looks like the Bridgertons. And again,
which would have been easy to hire. There's tons of people that look like them. They're very basic people. The brothers literally all look identical. My husband was walking in and out while I'm watching that. And he said, what? Now he's posing nude for a picture. And I said, that's not him. They look that much alike that My husband cannot tell who the main character is.
Veronica was texting me and she was like, I hope I remember which brother is which this time around. And then I literally
those three look so similar.
They're so similar. And then I texted her and said, you could tell me with a straight face that they recast the B brother and I would believe you. And then 20 minutes later, she goes, did they? And I'm like, no, they didn't. I'm just saying that as like a reason. And Colleen pointed out the B brother is so much older. Like he's so old. It's very obvious. And
he looks older than Antony.
He looks older than Antony. And I forgot his name for a while and he kept showing up. Benedict. I had to look it up because he kept popping up on screen and I'm like, they're not saying his name enough. Penelope is saying Colin every other line. Yeah. We know Antony's name. Benedict, I could not tell you his name at the beginning of the season if you held a gun to my head because I just couldn't remember. Like,
let me also say another thing they should have done this season. Get rid of Daphne. We do not have Simon. Daphne is useless in this season. Every time she comes on, she's like saying something or whatever. I'm like, I know that everyone loves Daphne and loves Phoebe. I don't remember her last name.
Yeah.
Phoebe, I used to date Pete Davidson, whatever your last name is.
Yeah.
She is well beloved by fans. However, this season, they did not do her justice. Her acting chops are not put to good use.
No.
And it seems out of place. And they should have just given her lines to the mom or Lady Danbury because that would have made more sense. And Phoebe being there makes zero sense.
Daphne, makes you okay.
Get out.
And have you?
Why is her husband not there? Like we don't know. Why did he not come to the wedding?
Have you watched the series finale of How I Met Your Father?
No.
Okay, never mind. But this has all the flavors of like if there's a reboot and they randomly bring one of the old actors onto the set, like every time she walks on, I'm like, it feels like we're in a reboot. I can't unsee it. The way she's here is so clunky. And it's like, what's Daphne going to do? She's going to walk around and teach the girls how to play a game.
The thing is, if they would have had Simon come back and then they could have incorporated that family into it more because he did not come back and she's just like randomly like saying, well, you know, it's so nice to have your family to find true love. Antony, I always thought you'd marry someone similar to you. I did. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You were nothing like him, you liar. Nothing in common.
That was a weird line, too.
Such a weird thing to say. Go over there, play with your baby, because this makes no sense. Your advice is not good.
Also, she was married last season. That baby is a year and a half old. What is the timing on that? Like, it did not make sense.
More happened in the garden than we were privy to, apparently.
It's like that baby is too old to be born within the last year.
They never get the baby sizes right.
They never get the baby sizes right. I was so confused by that baby.
I really just think, though, that she should not have been in this season. I'm sorry, Phoebe.
No, I'm
sorry, Daphne. You should not have been in this season. Simon's gone. You're gone. They could have just agree. Mentioned them, like the other actors could have been like, oh, we haven't heard from Daphne and Simon. They've been so busy. That's it. They're done.
They're traveling overseas. That's all you need to do. They're traveling overseas. They can't make it to the wedding. But like, also, it's a unfortunate that Regé-Jean Page decided to leave because I think if they had both of them, those two would have still been the sexy couple. Yeah. Because that's where I'm saying, like, I think it's less sexy. I don't necessarily I think it's a little bit of COVID restrictions. Sure. And I think it's a little bit of this storyline is much more will they, won't they? So you can't show as much marriage stuff. And in this type of show, they can't have sex until they're married.
It's also different when the main character is a man.
Yeah.
Versus when it's surrounding Daphne and how she's kind of coming into this experience, you know, where it's like Antony is already experienced. It's about him kind of being like, oh, I can find love. It doesn't have to be a handshake agreement type situation.
I also thought it would have been a little bit more interesting if they had let Kate fuck. Like if they were just like, Kate was married before, she is a widower and she has sworn never to marry again,
because they've already changed a lot about her story, so why not change it some more?
Right. And so I don't think they necessarily had to have had sex, but I think it's really weird to watch her character from that outlook. And like, I think if she had been a widow and she had had sex before, there's a lot more underlying those moments between the two of them where it's hotter. And it's not like, hey, does she understand? Because the last season, Daphne didn't know shit. Like, so what's her knowledge? Because we don't know anything about that. And I also think they should have just let Benedict take over the Antony role of last season and just let him have all the sex he wanted instead of we get like one montage of him sleeping with someone.
Scene. And like, of course, Antony had to have like a similar scene to what Regé-Jean Page did in season 1, where they like literally had the exact same moment where they both stood up from where they were at the brothel and like pulled the sheet across while they were looking down. Like, that's the exact same shot you guys had of Regé-Jean Page. You just copy pasted in Antony.
I know. Well, and it's so weird because
Johnny Bailey, I'll say his name because I keep saying Regé-Jean Page. So give the actor credit. The actors are very good. They're doing their job. I think that Simone, Ashley, and Johnny Bailey have very good chemistry.
Yes.
I did not think that anyone would have good chemistry with him because I didn't think that the actress last season had great chemistry with him, even though they were so in love. So I was skeptical, but I think they actually do have pretty good chemistry. It's just not a lot to work with.
She is from Sex Education, one of my favorite shows in the world. Okay. So I was already a fan of hers. I think they have great chemistry. I think she's a great actress. I really like her character. I think she's very interesting. Yeah. I think her sister is a white piece of toast. I do think they fixed
this whole thing. I was standing right there. No, you didn't. We all noticed it from miles away.
And then she decides to be the biggest bitch. And I'm just like, I don't know.
Like,
sorry, guys.
Her harping on the sister at one point, I was like, no, you do not get to do that.
I was like, I understand that this sister has protected you for your entire life, but this sister has protected you for your entire life.
Everything that I wanted, put your own wants in there. It's like, no, okay.
That's not how that works.
My wonderful life. Like, come on.
That sister annoyed me to death after that scene. And I was like, I just don't feel bad for you. I don't know.
At first it came off okay to me, their relationship, because it was like, okay, this is kind of like just the sweet younger sister who the older sister is trying to protect and make sure that she has everything. But then when that scene happened, I was like, no. You don't get to do that. You don't get to say those things. How dare you, Edwina?
It did not make sense at all. It made me really upset. I just finished watching that scene, so it's very raw in my mind. Yeah. And I agree fully with you. I do love that the mom in the first couple of episodes said everything about Antony that we all thought in the last season, where she's like, Antony, you're a ridiculous human being. Why do you think you're about to get married? Nobody wants to marry you. Who says someone wants to marry you? And I'm like, dude, not even his mom likes him.
I actually like the mom character.
I really like her.
The mom, Violet and Lady Danbury are great together. Their chemistry is very good together. But it's like, I know what they're going to do every single season. It's going to be them trying to do the same, replicate what they had in the first season.
Oh my God, yes.
And be like, who are Lady Danbury and Violet going to set up this time? Ooh. Let me guess, another one of Violet's children. And let me guess, Lady Danbury has more words.
Oh my gosh. It's just so stupid. I really like what they did with Eleanor this season. Season 1, Eleanor bothered me. Eloise. Sorry, I can't get anyone's names right. I really like Eloise in this season because for the first time, she's like, hey, I want to grow as a person and find my ideals. The last season, I was annoyed with her because she was like, everyone should have my ideals. Well, everyone should have similar ideals to me.
Yeah. The way that is, it like comes off as very grating in season 1, where it's like, okay, shut up. We get it. You don't like this. You don't like it. And you want everyone to agree with you. And we don't. We get it. This time it's like she's actually kind of growing as a person and realizing that there's like more to the world than just her specific views on a very specific one thing. And she's also like expanding her world and realizing, oh, there are more people out here and I want to read about and learn about things and talk to other people outside of my very, 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 very close-knit family.
I literally texted Veronica and I said last season she was giving cis white woman ally, like second wave feminist. Like that was all she was giving me. And this season I'm like, oh, I kind of like her.
She's growing.
Yeah.
What did you think of Penelope?
I love Penelope.
I love her as a person.
Her obsession with Colin. He can go suck a fucking egg. I hate that guy so fucking much. I hate Colin. Guys.
Whenever he went to visit, what's her name? I can't even remember.
Miss Thomas.
Yes, the cousin.
Yeah.
Whenever he went to visit her, and then she like says to him, there's like people that care about you outside of me, and he's like, Marina, there are other people that care about me besides you, and she's like, well, like your family and Penelope, and he's like, Penelope. What? You mean that's the reason she's always practically in my armpit? That's the reason every time I enter a room, she's always like, Colin!
Let me walk right over to you and ask you how you're doing and ask you why you were here and ask you if you're going to dance and ask you if you're looking for a woman. You mean that, Penelope? And the fact that he had to go hunt down Miss Thompson, and she's like, I loved her character so much when she was like, what the fuck are you doing here? Get out.
Like, this is done. Please stop living in the past. Like, I was using you. There are people that actually care about you. Get out of here.
Well, and then him being like, I want you to know, I forgive you too. And she was like, I didn't ask you for forgiveness.
Like, no.
You didn't understand where I was coming from. I was desperate and I had my reasons.
I'm not sorry.
Right. Like you can fuck right off. Like I hate him so much. He's so annoying.
I feel like as viewers we're meant to sympathize with his character more than I probably do and should. But it's like she was in a much worse situation than he was, and nobody seems to in this show like think about how she was affected by all of this. Right. It's just like she's terrible and poor Colin. Like what? So, like
I think people saw the whole Penelope versus her in the last season, which I had a lot of conflicting thoughts of how she reacted to Penelope reacted to Miss Thompson in some
and
areas.
I hated that too with the whistle down thing, like how she revealed all of that.
I had a lot of misgivings about that, but I appreciated that she like came at it where she's like, Colin's a nice guy. And she's like, okay, so just because I'm in a bad position, you think I should marry a guy who's terrible?
Right.
I'm sorry he doesn't like you, but I can make him happy and I'm desperate and he can do exactly what I need him to. I'm like, that's so interesting. But I think they were like,
Jane Austen.
Right. But I think in this season, they were like, well, a lot of people like that conversation. So let's have Colin have it. And it's like, no, Colin's just a cis whitehead dude who needs to grow up a little bit. Like,
yeah. I also think this season there's a little maybe too much like franticness on Penelope's part where she's like, somebody's gonna find out who I am.
Oh my god, I was like, I wish they'd revealed who it was later, because
I know
I like when she's like being girl boss.
I like when she comes in and she's using her Irish accent as like pretending to be Lady Whistledown's maid.
Yes. I love that.
That's cool. I love that she's able to dish out that accent also. But at the same time, it's like the other stuff where it's like she's trying to sort her money and stuff in her room, and then the sister comes and she's like, I wasn't reading anything. I don't read. I just sit here.
I hated all of that. I hate that like the one sister's like, she's writing letters to Colin. And it's like, who the fuck cares? Like,
I will say, so that stupid sister is the daughter of Carson on Downton Abbey and Imelda Staunton. And when she was imitating that person dressed up at the party and like doing the arm motions with her, or anytime she goes, look at me.
I loved that when she's in the boat going, look at me.
Look at me. You're like hanging out of the boat's tipping. I'm like, this is very funny. We need to give her more funny things because she handles it well.
She's so funny. Okay, so I do not give a shit about Colin because, and that's the thing.
I don't really care about her character, but that actress is very funny. And that character is very good for comedic relief.
Oh, but that's my thing. Like, I don't give a shit about Anthony and Colin because it's like these poor rich men who get to pick any woman to marry them and could definitely live a life. And Colin's like, I'm the third brother. I want to find purpose in my life. And it's like, okay, who cares? Go find it. Like,
everyone wants purpose. Come on.
I thought he was going to be in Greece for at least a season. And I was so excited. And then he came back.
He went there just long enough to be like, I found weed. And
I know.
He came back. Colin got Benedict high. And then that was it.
That's the thing is like, I want the Benedict version because Benedict is just there for comedic relief. He's just there to get naked at art school. I'm there for honestly, all of his stuff.
The Featheringtons, if there was a season centered, I mean, it will be the season when Penelope and Colin finally get together will be more Featheringtons, but their situation is infinitely more interesting than the Bridgertons.
And like the mom is like being ruthless and
that mom is awesome.
Cousin. I love her. I love watching her be like all little schemy and like,
oh, she is awesome.
And that stuff. And like Penelope's sister being, look at me. I thought that was hilarious. Yes. So
they're clueless to the situation. And then you have Mrs. or Lady Featherington, who is very aware of their situation, playing everyone. And then you have Penelope, who's unaware of her own situation, but aware of everyone else's. It's fascinating. Like their whole family dynamic is fascinating. The cousin is fascinating. Like that is all very good.
I know. And so I think it's just hard when like these were Regency novel romances that were written in the 90s. And so many of them are just like rich white boys who don't have any problems making problems for themselves. Like,
sure.
Even in this season, I'm watching it and I'm like, dude, Anthony, just tell her how you feel. I'm kind of over someone being like, I was just too scared to say it out loud. It's like, okay, you're 29. It's time for you to grow up.
Yeah.
So
have you read any of these books?
No, I have the first one. I've thought about reading it. But
I don't know that I will read these books, honestly. This is one maybe I'm just going to do the TV show. But I was kind of curious about them because, like you said, this is a Regency novel written in the 90s. So it's a hot take. But I think it is kind of interesting that it's become such a phenomenon. And the story of at least the first season, which I'm assuming is just the first book, is interesting. So the author must be fairly good if she's able to come up with a storyline like this. So I am giving the author some credit for writing a pretty good story.
I am giving her a lot of credit. I think she did a great job. I just think there are some things where it's like, okay, some of it is what she did was a relic of her time. And if you're updating all this other stuff, update more.
Which I think they're correcting a lot of it with the show.
Oh, yes. I do think that they're doing great things to correct a lot of it. I just think that there could be more done.
Sure.
But they're Laura and I are enjoying the show. I think they fixed some things. I think Colin,
I think overall I like it, but not near as much as the first season.
Colin wins for worst character this season. He is the new Anthony and Hannah's mind.
And they didn't bring back that. Well, at first I thought they did for a second. That one guy that was like trying to trap Daphne into a marriage. I thought he was in their house at one point when he like says, "Oh, come over here and play something on the piano or something like that." And I was like, "What the heck is he doing in their house?
Get out!"
Tried to hurt Daphne. What are you people thinking?
God.
Yeah, he's not there, but he's actually an interesting character too. Like they didn't have any situations like that where anybody's honor had to be defended or anything. You know, it was a very bright, happier type season.
It was a happier season, and the lighting on it just was like the moment that they had Daphne pull up, I was like, "Oh, this season will not be the same."
Daphne should have been gone.
Oh, also, it needs to be said. Sorry, guys, we're talking about Bridgerton.
This is the Bridgerton
Welcome to the Bridgerton cast. But the third episode, deep spoilers for I laughed so hard I was crying because in the third episode, you find out that the dad dies via bee sting, and it's like
focus on bees so much, which is disgusting that they are doing that.
It's so random that they focus on bees that often. They always sting a person whenever they land on them. But the dad gets stung. He's allergic, so he goes into anaphylactic shock. And the name of the episode is A Bee in Her Bonnet. And I'm like, did they just make a pun about the dad's way of it's so morbid. Why did they do terrible. That? It was so bizarre to me, and I died. I was laughing so hard. I was like, that's such a bold choice to be like, how did the dad die? A bee. Ooh, she gets stung.
And then what are we going to do the entire season? Afterwards? We're going to like focus on bees and make it
sexy. And so we're going to name it a bee in the bonnet. And it's like, what the fuck? Well,
bees have been like involved in both seasons. And it's like, now we know why the bees involved more. And I'm not okay with it. We need to protect bees, and now people are going to want to be smashing them because of Bridgerton.
Also, for a couple of episodes, I wanted it, like the season should have just been named "Every Time You Get Horny, It's Gonna Rain," because that was happening every single time they had a moment.
What was the deal with like Anthony falling in the water and it was coming out, and he looked great, but then them both being like, "It's not okay to stare," and then both like, "Let's stare together." Like, come on, you don't say that. Just let them do it.
It's so you could see a very hot man get wet, but it was also hilarious because the other guy is still standing there fully clothed. Like it's two men who fall in the water, and one is just standing there like in his coat waiting for Anthony to get out. And then Anthony is like, I got wet. I'm gonna immediately
take off all my clothes.
It doesn't make sense.
Good thing I had on a very thin shirt.
Right. So you could see underneath. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But guys, watch Bridgerton season 2.
Yeah, watch Bridgerton.
Enjoy
it.
Enjoy episode 3. Dad dies via bee, but we make it humor.
Netflix, this is one of the many things I want you to call me about. I have some other ideas for reality TV shows, but call me as like a person to help you with Bridgerton.
Perfect.
Also. Yeah. Hannah, what have you been reading and watching besides Bridgerton?
So it's mostly Bridgerton. Last week I had the flu, and I watched like a million episodes of Grey's Anatomy as I lay in my sister's house sick because I got it.
One will do.
Yes.
Did you need to go to the hospital, and so you like subconsciously were like, I'm gonna watch Grey's Anatomy?
No, my sister had the flu 5 days before I got the flu. And that was her sick show. And like when you're fevered, I did that. And then I also watched The Duff at 1 a.m.
Is that good? I haven't seen that.
I don't most of it. I was fevered. Like it was one of those moments where my sister was like, are you sure it wasn't food poisoning? And I was like, I had the chills all night. So no.
That doesn't sound like it.
But I watched a lot of Grey's Anatomy, and I watched like the first season of it again. And through my rewatchings of Grey's Anatomy and Law and Order SVU, I just want to say that I do think that Meredith Grey and Mariska Hargitay's character, Olivia Benson, should quit their jobs. I just think that they have been through too much, and they're
holding the entire show on their shoulders.
But like, these shows have put them through so much trauma, because if you think about it, Meredith Grey lost her mother to Alzheimer's. Okay. Then she lost her stepmom to like a disorder where like they didn't know about it. And then her father blamed her. And then her father died via like alcohol poisoning. And then her sister died via plane accident. And then her coworkers lost limbs. And then her best friend had to have a like spouse who went through PTSD, and then her husband died via car accident, and then she found out she had another sister that her mother gave away, and then she had to go through a friend having a tumor, and then another friend leaving the hospital, and then she's been through so much. I think she just needs to sue the hospital for emotional damage, take the proceeds, and never look back, and just quit her job.
I mean, that's one look at it, or there's another where it's like, we could get so many more seasons out of her because she hasn't broken down yet.
But that's the thing, is like when you have these drama series where it's like, we're going to ramp it up, but like using the people involved, just too much trauma happens. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like if this happened to a person, they would just not function anymore. Like, I don't understand.
The likelihood of all of those things happening to one person are slim to none.
I know. And it's just, it bothers me. And then like anytime they have like,
I will give those characters credit though for hanging in that long, because a lot of times shows just write them out, or people get tired with the character, and apparently people haven't gotten tired of the characters yet.
But like also anytime there's like a sweeps in SVU, they're like, what can we do? We can have Olivia Benson abducted. She has been abducted so many times at gunpoint, and it's just like, at this point, I don't think your job is effective at keeping you safe. I think you should quit it. And it's like, there's a special squad known as an elite squad. And I'm like, I don't know how elite they are. Their detective keeps getting abducted. They don't seem very good at their jobs.
That's true.
Like, I just think those shows
their definition of elite is different
for far too long, and justice for them. And they should both quit their jobs and just never look back.
The thing is, people love like cop shows and they love hospital shows. Like all of those Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, all of those ones are extremely popular. And so have all of the other shows related to hospitals or cops too. They've been like wildly popular. Look at ER and House, and people just eat those up for whatever reason.
ER worked because like there's a lot of turnover in an ER facility. Mm-hmm. They're not dealing with cutting edge, because that was also something I mentioned to my roommate. Like they keep having to ramp up the surgeries they're doing because like it worked really well when Grey's Anatomy started out, because it was like people starting off as interns and then like growing. But like, because they were interns, it made it more reasonable for like the surgeons. They're like, oh, you're on this today. I haven't learned that yet. Can I join in? But the actual surgeons were having repeat surgeries all the time where they're like, oh, we're doing one of these. We're doing one of these again, But now that it's like all of them, they're in the higher up stuff. They keep having to do like cutting edge stuff. And that doesn't make sense. Whereas like an ER, you're all, like people were just dealing with random traumas all the time. And it was the same stuff over and over again. And it was more about like the intricacies of running an ER versus surgery is very much a repeat thing all the time. Yeah. And it doesn't lend itself to like 18 seasons, which is how long that show has been on. Yeah. And it's just too much. And it bothers me.
I think like even House, where it was like advanced diagnostics, where they saw really complicated cases. He was like top doctor for really complicated things. Like nobody can figure this out. This is a last resort that we go to House type thing. So it was very interesting. Well, and then you throw in the dynamics of House being just a very interesting character himself.
Right. Well, and even in House, like it was not always, the surgery where it's like, we're going to get rid of the conjoined twins. It was like, hey, by the way, you're allergic to copper and you had like an IUD implanted that was like copper. Like,
wait, don't do the surgery. There's a tick. And that was the problem all along.
Right. Like that lends itself a lot more. But sometimes with those shows, it's just like, I was thinking about it a lot because I've watched now 18 seasons of, I haven't watched 18 seasons of SVU, but I have watched a lot of seasons of SVU. Sure. I think I was on season 13 when I was like, I think I have to stop. And it was literally because Olivia Benson got abducted again. And I was like, again, I'm like, I can't do this.
Did you watch the episode with Robin Williams recently?
Oh yeah. That one.
I really liked that one.
I mean, she was abducted in that one too. So
that's one of those episodes that like sticks with me. I always remember that one. And I remember the one that John Stamos was in where he was a total creep.
Oh my God, he was so creepy.
But I really liked that Robin Williams episode because it's like, he's such a dynamic actor and what a treasure. Dynamic. We do not give him enough credit.
I know, except he was notorious for stealing people's jokes.
I didn't know that, but I still think that he's an excellent actor. He can, he's so diverse.
Oh yeah. No, he just went to a lot of like people. It was well known in the industry that he like went to shows and stole random jokes from people.
I didn't know that. That's too bad. Give people credit. Credit.
But so I did that. I've been doing a lot of audiobooks though. Like I said, I like traveled down to my sister's. Mm-hmm. My book club this month is covering Honor by Tracey Umrigar. Okay. That is a book about a woman who she's from India, but her parents moved to the States when she was a teenager. Mm-hmm. And she returns because a friend needs help on like she's a journalist and the friend asks for help on this court case that's going on in like very rural India where it's like very conservative. And it's a case where a woman married a Muslim man and her brothers did like an honor killing pretty much where they set him on fire and the house on fire and she tried to save the husband. And she decided to sue them, even though it's well known in that area that like the brothers had a right to do that because like she brought dishonor on them. And this journalist has to cover the case. She meets with the girl. There's a lot of complicated feelings. I really enjoyed some of the, it's one of those things where, again, you and I talk about this all the time. Sometimes authors are a little bit too hesitant to really write the hard book. So they write like an easier version of the book. Because I actually think the best parts of the book were about the woman who was burned, Mina, and how she was really naive, but she did do all these like brave things for her village, and she had a lot of complicated thought processes because she like did want to honor her brothers, but she did go against them and she did want to like have this court case against them. And I felt like we didn't get enough of that. We got too much of like very privileged woman comes back to India who has a lot of hatred for it for very complex reasons, and her having discussions about why she hates it with another person, and it also felt like a little bit too much at the end. It got like very cinematic and like not Hallmark movie-ish, but very like cinematic, what like a made for TV movie would end as. And it lost me in like the last half of it. So I think it was great at looking at complicated discussions about like conservative areas in any country. And it did point out like, hey, this could happen in lots of different places. America has terrible things that happen to it all the time, but it also didn't delve into enough of like what those things are. Like it was from the perspective of a journalist who does case like stories like this. And she always just mentioned like, well, bad stuff happens everywhere. And then she would move on and not explain it. And I'm like, okay, but maybe point that out, because if the discussion is
or something,
if the discussion is like Americans become obsessed with India for doing bad things to women, sometimes point out what Americans do, because then we do have to ask those questions a lot more harshly.
It doesn't have to be like a whole book on it, but like just point it out.
Yes, just point it out. And like and then at one point she kind of like even points out one of the biggest issues with the novel and like critiques it, where it's like, oh geez, we Americans were just so obsessed with like trauma porn. And I'm like, that's true. And you didn't do a ton to go against that with this
book. By giving us more.
Yeah, it was just, I thought she is an Indian woman, so I'm not saying she like didn't have an effective, I thought some of the best parts were about the complicated feelings someone from India would have living there.
Sure.
It just wasn't as effective as I was hoping it would be. It's very much, it is like one of Reese Witherspoon's book club versions. So it does. And like, it has 4.47 on Goodreads, but almost every reviewer I see is a white person. So sometimes with that stuff, I'm like, this is like a story that's palatable towards white people.
It's kind of like what I was saying. Like, you can't always trust book of the month reviews.
Yes.
I would say Reese's Book Club is one of those. You also maybe can't trust the reviews 99% of the time.
Exactly. Where people are like, oh my gosh, it broke my heart. And I was like, and I think it can still be criticized. Yeah. I am a white person who's criticizing this book, so don't look to me. But like, I did think some of the most interesting things were the discussions of religious and caste systems in India. Like this, she's very knowledgeable about that stuff. And they do delve into that, where like one of the characters is like in love with India. And she's like, okay, but you're from a really high caste, so you have a lot of privilege that goes with that. And you're a man, so that's even more privilege, And so I thought some of that stuff was the most interesting, and it wasn't dealt with enough in the fiction, that like it was a little bit more of the like, ooh, hot. It almost felt like a 90s book about India sometimes. Sure. So but I liked it. I mean, it was a good audiobook. I was interested to see how it ended. And then I also listened to 2 Lucy Foley books back to back.
You liked those?
I did. I really like them. They're like whodunits. I did audiobooks, and they play with perspective a lot. And so they have different like actors come in and do the voice work. So you really get to feel the feel of a character.
I like when that happens in audio.
Me too. And I really enjoyed the guest list. I thought it was very excellent. They're very much like, I love a good British procedural. These are all British procedurals in novel form. And it almost felt like I was listening to a radio play. I also listened to The Hunting Party. It was less good. It was so predictable. It hurt. I think at one point I was like, oh, that's what's going to happen, huh? Yeah. It was just so much. And there were parts where I was like, okay, well, either this or this is going to happen. I don't know which one, but it's just depending on how the author feels. Like, it's not because I wasn't picking up on key points. I'm like, oh, the surprise is who's it going to be, And then I also read Jennifer Egan's The Candy House. It's coming out in April. It is the second book to her Visit from the Goon Squad, which won a Pulitzer. Mm-hmm. I really like those books a lot. I think Jennifer Egan is a stunning writer. This is my second book of hers in the last month.
You also read another one.
Look at Me. Yes. I read Look at Me, where one of the characters is Rockford, Illinois. Yeah. But she's an amazing writer. I found out that this book was coming out and I requested it on NetGalley because I had just finished Look at Me. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish I had reread The Goon Squad before, because a lot of the book I spent thinking like, was this character mentioned in the last book? Because like it's a little bit of a unique thing where it's kind of similar almost to Homegoing, where like each chapter is a different person. You're dropped into their perspective and they're all intertwined.
Okay.
And so because it's like a continuation, it continues with random characters that were either mentioned in the previous novel or who are tangential to the people in the previous novel. Mm-hmm. And I think I kept forgetting who we saw in the last novel. So I kept being like, who was this person mentioned? Was this person mentioned? And I think it distracted a little bit from the enjoyment of it, but I still enjoyed it. She does the best when she's talking about, she is, she's an older woman. She's not old by any means necessary, but she like the best parts is when she's talking about the music industry. Cause she kind of like loves the punk rock stuff, but she incorporated like new technology and like what social media might look like. And like, it's kind of a little sci-fi where a guy creates a company that like you can upload all your memories into like a box. And then like everyone starts putting them in the collective conscious. So you can look at memories of other people, but she only touches on it. And I'm like, okay, in this story, you either really need to go into deep details and it's just kind of like a plot device. Sure. And it was almost like, yeah, this is cool that you're talking about this. And I just don't think she's as an effective writer about sci-fi stuff as she is about like music industry stuff. So, and I just really like the way she plays with perspective. One of the characters is like a spy for something. And she like writes like very short, like discussions from their perspective of like, imagine this. And I love those chapters a lot. And then like one whole part is just via like emails with people in the industry. And I really liked that section. And I love how she plays with different formats. And I love how she deals with the music industry. And sometimes when she got into the more techie of the stuff, I cared a lot less.
Yeah.
But it's out in April. People should read A Visit from the Goon Squad. I really think they're weird little unique books. There's a whole section on The Visit from the Goon Squad that's all through via PowerPoint.
Really?
Yeah. So some people hate it. People are like, I don't understand how this won the Pulitzer, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes I'm just like, it's a weird, unique thing. She took a chance. And like, if it didn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But if it does,
I feel like people expect everything to like be a certain format. And sometimes people are creative and go in a direction and it works for lots of people.
And so I do remember that section and it really worked for me. And I very much like Jennifer Egan. So read A Visit from the Goon Squad. If you like it, continue on to The Candy House because I think it's, it's reboot,
Yeah.
So yes. But with that, should we dive into it?
Yes. I'm going to plug in my laptop real quick. We've been talking about Bridgerton so long.
I know.
I need to charge my laptop.
Guys, this episode is going to be very loosey-goosey. Can feel it now.
I am still waiting for Netflix to send us that sponsorship money.
Right? I mean, we really went in on Bridgerton today. So
and in the past.
I do like that you and I just talked for so long about Bridgerton.
I could talk about Bridgerton forever.
Welcome to the Bridgerton cast.
I love Bridgerton.
We should start another podcast. We should do that where we just do like we have to read the Bridgerton books and then watch the season again.
I mean, there's probably thousands of podcasts that do that, but ours would be very funny.
And then we could just like randomly be like, Robert Jordan would have never. And this is where Robert Jordan would have added a spanking scene.
Plot twist, we actually like the Bridgerton novels.
Better than Robert Jordan.
I mean, that's actually not that far of a stretch for me, probably.
I do think that it's enjoyable. I have one of them, but I just know that like the Daphne rape scene is so much worse in the book, so I kind of don't want to read that book. I've just heard it's a lot worse. But anyway, okay.
I can see that being a thing.
Who should we discuss first of the women?
I think it's only fitting to discuss Brando Sando's favorite, Egwene.
Queen Egwene.
Yes.
She is Brando Sando's favorite. She is his girl. Yep. He loves her so much. And boy, does it show on the page. Like, yeah, this was Egwene's novel.
I mean, there have been so many books that Egwene has been basically just cast aside and not given the growth and story that she deserved.
Yes.
And Brando Sando recognized that and is trying to fix it. The thing is, the things that happen to Egwene happen so quickly that it's very hard to take in at times, where it's like, how did we go from last novel when no one liked her and was like, she's totally incompetent and we can't handle this and we're just gonna lock her up and do this or whatever, and now it's like, okay, now we believe her.
I do remember in the last book there was a lot of her like being a good spy.
I'm exaggerating that but it's a lot of books where it was like she was just like totally belittled by all these other people, even and like put into this position. We're like, why did they put her in this position if they're just going to treat her like this?
Well, remember book 10 where like she doesn't do anything, she just goes around trying to talk to people for a very long time,
no one will listen to her,
and no one will listen to her. And then in the last like chapter she's like, hey guys, I'm gonna go out on this boat, and then she's just captured and there was no buildup. She just randomly like woke up one day and was like, I'm gonna be on that boat. And it's like, what the hell just happened? Like, this makes zero sense.
I mean, as far as Egwene's character, I feel like she's always been capable, and I don't think a lot has changed as far as her character, but I would say that the way that other characters treat her and react to her has changed immensely, and that therefore warrants a change in her character. But it's at times a little bit jarring because it's like, wait, we all respect her now, right? We're all on the same page. We respect her.
I mean, she's changed insofar as Brando Sando is less likely to have her randomly throw a tantrum for no reason. Yeah. Like, you never listen to me.
Or to randomly like fall in love with a random person via dream. I mean,
oh God, yeah, exactly. I do think
he's even really questioning that relationship a little bit too.
I actually don't. I'm going to die on the hill of, I do think he's not exactly questioning it. I think he's showing that Gawain will be her biggest weak spot. Sure. Because she cares a little bit too much about him and he sucks.
I think Brando also does not like Gawain. But
I think that's kind of, you can tell on the page, But Gawain, what's your purpose?
He makes him an idiot.
I don't know my purpose. My purpose is to protect Egwene and Elaine, but are you doing either of those things?
What is your purpose?
Colin, what the fuck are you doing? You're just here to make the most capable character happy. That's people all that you care about.
You're like your family and Penelope. Penelope?
Oh my God. He's so dumb. You mean like a girl who's not like normal, like who's not the typical size for a TV show might actually want to have sex with someone? She's not just like a sexless friend I can just talk to whenever I fucking feel like it. Oh my God, she has feelings and emotions and wants and needs.
This is a person?
This is brand new information. Like, oh God, Colin sucks so much. Sorry.
Colin is a problem.
Colin is a problem. Gawain is a problem.
But anyways, Egwene.
Yeah, I really liked Egwene in this book. I mean, you're right.
How can you not?
She's been capable this entire series. This one just kind of shows that off in the best way possible. I do think it's funny when she like Egwene asks no one to save her, and she in fact is screaming at people to leave her alone, and no one listens to her. And it's like he does such a much more effective job at people ignoring her wants and needs, because like before it's just people blatantly doing it and she's like, oh my God, just listen to me. But in these books there's like actual stakes where it's like, I'm concerned for her life, we're gonna go do this. And then she's like, why didn't you listen to me? I was taking care of everything, I'm very capable, don't be an idiot. Like, but yeah, I really loved her in this book. Good job, Egwene, Queen Egwene.
Yeah.
Love Brando Sando's version of her, which is my favorite of Egwene. That's why she's my favorite character. So glad he and I are in agreement on how cool she is, I guess.
Let's talk about the other character that he is giving us whiplash with, and that's Nynaeve.
So what are your thoughts? Because Nynaeve is your favorite character.
I get what he's trying to do, because I don't think Nynaeve is his favorite character by any means.
I think he hates Nynaeve.
But the thing is, I get the changes he's trying to make. I almost don't know if it was necessary, because I feel like the people that were so strongly in the Nynaeve camp kind of just liked her the way she was, and we're totally okay with it. And while I understand him making the changes because he's trying to make her more palatable to a wider audience, I don't know if it was necessary.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything you're saying.
Why not just leave her as like a deeply flawed character that only just a section of people like? I mean, what's wrong with that? To have like I don't know if badass flawed person.
I don't know if it's more he wants her more palatable to more people. I don't think he necessarily understands Nynaeve, and I think he's
maybe to him more palatable to him.
Yeah, I think he's trying to make her grow, and he doesn't understand Nynaeve, so that growth seems inauthentic when you look at it, because it's not authentic to who she is personally.
I'm okay with having the character grow, but and I get it that he didn't have much time. However, it just seemed too fast,
right?
And therefore it comes off not as smooth. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't think he understands Nynaeve. So I think it comes across as really inauthentic when he's trying to change her. It's similar to someone pointed out that he's even said openly, like, I didn't understand Matt during this book. And you and I were like, you can tell he doesn't get Matt. He's trying to figure it out, but we're getting book one Matt versus, and like, this is his writing exercise. And I also feel like that's what he's doing with Nynaeve. This feels more like a writing exercise than it does actual character growth. And as team anti-Nynaeve, I was really disappointed with it, because I don't appreciate Nynaeve, but I appreciate what she means to other people. And I really appreciate what you see in her, even if I can't see it. And I was disappointed to see him take that stuff away from her, because although I don't necessarily appreciate it, I recognize the value it has for other people. Yeah. And it disappointed me.
I feel like Jordan's kind of ruined the character for the past several books anyways. He's done that with a lot of the women characters, but Nynaeve has been one that's been kind of going down the tubes. But the revival of Nynaeve in this way seems off.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I still like Nynaeve, but I'll always like Nynaeve, but it just feels weird.
I just don't get her anymore. Like, I don't get her purpose in this novel.
A lot of it doesn't make sense because of the changes.
Right. Like, she's not there to go against the Aes Sedai and be like, you guys are idiots. And I don't know if he
knew what to do with her, because she's with Rand, and now he's kind of just like made her somewhat of an advisor to Rand, but not really, because he doesn't listen to her.
And she's in Katsuyane's pocket, and she has to do whatever Katsuyane tells her to.
Which normal Nynaeve would not really like Katsuyane, but
or she would like Katsuyane, she just wouldn't like Katsuyane. Like, the biggest thing about Nynaeve is she's a hypocrite, so she would love Katsuyane.
Yeah,
for what Katsuyane does for other people, but the second it gets turned on her, she'd be super mad.
Yeah, I think she would respect Katsuyane, but at the same time be like, I'm not cool with her. You know what I mean?
Right. I just don't trust her. I need to protect Rand. I'm the only one who could be his mentor.
Right.
She's incapable of doing it.
Don't listen to these other people. We can't trust any of them.
She's another Moraine. Like, all of that stuff.
All these people are trying to manipulate you, Rand. I'm the only one you need to stick to. The people know, that kind of thing.
Like, she would be suddenly scared of Rand, like she was with Matt a lot of the time. Like, there were times where Nynaeve would suddenly realize like she had gone too far into something she didn't understand, and then her reaction is like so the inverse of her, because like Nynaeve's a hypocrite, and that would have made sense. But the way he writes her is just so inauthentic to who she was. And even though Jordan just didn't do anything with her for like books and books and books, and he was like, she's busy having sex with Lange. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
He did that with so many characters, just threw away their potential.
Right. So it was a little frustrating to read Nynaeve sections just because it felt so inauthentic and upsetting to me. I do know some people really liked this growth. Like Veronica,
I can see some people liking the changes, and that's why I think I said that he's trying to make her more palatable to people, because I feel like the direction she's going is maybe a character that a lot of people will sympathize with. If that makes sense. I just think it's currently not working for me because I liked original OG Nynaeve.
Well, and here's the thing. I already didn't like Nynaeve, and what he's doing isn't making me like her more. Like, because she's still just really weird. Like, it's almost just she's really weird now, where she's just like, oh, let me go down memory lane. I wish we could go back. I understand Moraine now. And I'm like, this just feels like frustrating to me, because if you were always capable of doing this and you've done zero work to do that, and all of a sudden you're just accepting it, what? What? I just don't get it, and I don't appreciate it as much as I think other people do. So.
Sure. I would like to point out something that we mentioned briefly in the last episode, but it ties into Egwene and Nynaeve and Rand as well, where it's mentioned often, and we see it often, how Egwene and Nynaeve, or it's mentioned with Nynaeve, we see it with Egwene, how they are young women who are in positions of leadership and are not taken seriously.
Yes.
But Rand is a young man, and Perrin and Mat are young men in positions of leadership and are taken seriously and never have any pushback, which seems odd for a feminist society. But what do I know?
Oh gosh.
I just wanted to briefly touch on that, because there's definitely a double standard there that we seem to have glossed over, Brando. But I don't know.
That whole argument of, this is one of the best feminist societies of all time. And it's like, could have fooled me.
Could have fooled me. It is.
Question mark?
Where are the women at?
I guess if you say so. I don't
Equality.
Think like, yes, we can hate women just as much as we hate men.
Yes. I don't know. I call BS on all of the. This feminist is just text. This is just flipping the rules. This is exact. No, don't even come at me with that, because it's not.
And I do think you make a great point, and I agree with you. So good job, Laura.
I just wanted to point it out again, because it happens to these two specific characters constantly.
Well, and here's the thing. Again,
it's mentioned with Nynaeve, and it happens to Egwene constantly.
Rand descending into madness, I get, but also it's whiplash to like suddenly, because Rand for books and books and books is like, Nynaeve, come here. I need you with me. You're my mommy. Like he has often done that with Nynaeve, where he keeps trying to keep her as close as he possibly can. He's like, you're the only one I can trust. I'm going to join up with you for this thing. Like, you and I are in this together forever. And then in this book, he's like, I fucking hate you. Get out.
Get away from me.
What?
Banished from...
It just doesn't make sense that he was always for Nynaeve, and all of a sudden it's like
they were
plot
close,
contrivance.
And it was refreshing to have a relationship where there was no sexual tension, and they could just be friends and have mutual respect and care for each other. And now it's like, wait, what?
Well, you and I had even talked about how we liked that, like, he went directly to Nynaeve and he's like, hey, we're going to sneak out of the palace together. We're going to go do this. I need your help. It can only be you. Will you travel with me? And it was awesome. And then in this book, Brando Sandoz, like, remember when he really trusted Nynaeve? Forget all of that. He doesn't trust her. She needs to earn his trust. And he's not going to listen to any advice she gives, even though he's never given us any modicum of belief that he would ever ignore Nynaeve or her thought. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So everything about Nynaeve has been taken away from her, and that's a shame.
Yeah. Catsian is funny.
Catsian's just technically.
I feel like she's reading all the fine print, but I just think this is another example of a character he didn't know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all just kind of knew this is the replacement. This is the fill-in for Maureen while she's gone.
And Maureen's about to come back.
So he's just made her into comedic relief. And
also, I'm sorry. He's given Min a personality and taken away any of her plot purpose in this novel. In previous books, she's always been like, Rand, you need to play nice with Katsuye. You need to do this. And now she's just lying on bed going, no!
Me like, yeah.
She's not trying to talk Rand out of it, and she's not trying to be like, hey, remember my viewings, you're putting yourself in a really dangerous position. If you don't keep Katsuye around, you need to prepare for the final battle, you need to do this in the right way. And like, Min used to be that character, and now he's just like, nope, Katsuye's gonna be running around with their hood up.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
Here's the thing, I think there may have just been too many characters, and
that's fair.
To jump in at this point, he's like, what do I do with some of these people? I don't know.
Where'd you get a trident? I don't know.
I love lamp.
Do you really love the lamp, or are you just saying you love the lamp?
Trapped in a glass case of the ocean. The way that I can quote all of those stupid movies, because every single boy in my high school always knew those movies.
Of course they did. The bad man took Baxter.
I feel like there's like something with our generation. I shouldn't just say our generation. Specifically, I'm going to be very specific. People that were born in 1990, 1991, and 1992, that they loved Anchorman so much.
Oh my gosh, the way I didn't like Anchorman for the longest time, like I watched it once with like one of my friends who loved it, and she was like, "This is the funniest movie alive," and I was like, "I don't get it." And then I like
cult thing for 1990, 1991, 1992 born people.
And then I had to watch it like 6 more times. And I think someone gaslit me into loving Anchorman. Like, I think I was gaslit into liking that movie. And now I could just quote so many things from it.
Somebody must have asked you when your date of birth was, and you said it while you were watching the movie. And then instantly, immediately. Because I know people who are younger and people who are older, and they do not have the appreciation for that movie that our specific age group has.
The chokehold it has.
It's weird. It's weird.
Well, it's because we grew up in like internet culture where like we started having YouTube where people would watch clips, and it became like the rewatching era of like owning DVDs where you would watch things over and over and over again.
Like,
and we also grew up doing that with Disney movies.
Shows.
And so then you started having quotes. And like our entire generation was, for a while, it was just like, hey, let's just quote things at each other for a very long time. Like you and I just went back and forth when I started with like, where'd you get a trident? I don't know. And that immediately got a reaction where you had to quote something back to me.
I knew exactly what it was.
Yeah. So it's just something about our generation.
Strange.
Yeah. 1991 to 1992 babies.
Anyway, Wheel of Time.
Your favorite Wheel of Time quote.
Yeah, that'll be good.
We're gonna get a million of that one landline in the previous books where it's like, he's such a romantic. He said that one line that one time.
Yeah, let me know what that one is. Don't.
Yeah, no, Katsuye's weird. He doesn't know what to do with her. It's not Brando Sanda's fault. It's just like these women were already trashed so much that like the only one he could actually fix was the one he liked the most.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I feel like Min has we kind of understand why she's been reading and all this, because it's never been known to us before.
Min's a reader now. She's a reader, and now it has a purpose. So
it's like, also, that would have been so easy for Jordan just to explain that. Let me just say that. Like, could he not have just added in 2 sentences rather than that entire prologue that was like about a man named Bors, a man named Bors? The fact that I remember that specific prologue and that stupid man named Bors.
That was book 2.
Exactly. Get rid of that. And then we can't have just like a 2-sentence thing. Min has been reading a lot because she's trying to look into like historical context.
Well, first of all, That was not why Jordan had her reading so much. Brando Sando made that up. Let's just admit that here and
but
now.
It makes sense, and it could have been so much easier. Like,
but like Brando Sando had reasons, Robert Jordan did not. And like that's the whole thing is, guess what was happening 8 books ago? Rand was doing stuff like that. So it's like, that's hey, true. Rand gave up on that plot point.
Do that.
You can't both do that, but like Brand for a while was trying to like look into everything about like the prophecies and trying to like fulfill them all. And then all of a sudden, like Robert Jordan drops a plot line. We drop an Anchorman quote. He drops it so fast and it just doesn't make any sense. And so he dropped that plot line for Rand. And then he was like, oh, Min's here. I have nothing left for her to do. She'll read. And then Brando Sando's like, well, what could she be reading about?
But there's a purpose.
There's a purpose.
You just don't read nothing.
At least she has a personality now. And it's mostly still about Rand, but it's at least a personality.
I mean, at least she's doing something productive.
And at least she's not just screaming about how boys are ninny-headed, like nincompoops who don't listen to her. Muggins. That's perfect. Exactly. We're just pulling out I know
all the Will Ferrell movies we will quote today.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Did you ever watch Kicking and Screaming?
No, I did not.
I feel like that is a very underrated Will Ferrell movie.
Fair
so
enough.
Many Will Ferrell movies get a ton of credit and quoting, and I don't think they deserve it as much as Kicking and Screaming does.
That's amazing.
It's very funny because all the kids.
I honestly only watch Will Ferrell movies with my cross country team. So if the cross country team
when you guys
did not
get back
watch
together,
we're gonna do a 3-mile race and then watch some movies and eat some pizza.
I was thinking we could all get together for a run and then watch Kicking and Screaming.
Because I only watch Will Ferrell movies with you guys. Sorry. I do remember watching the one with the guy from Napoleon Dynamite where they were figure skaters.
Blades of Glory.
That one.
I like that one.
I've also never seen the Ricky Bobby one, or what is it?
Talladega
Nights. Talladega Nights. Thank you. I've never seen it.
Have you seen Step Brothers?
I have seen Step Brothers.
Yeah.
I
feel like those two are a very good comedic duo. They act really well together. John C. Reilly.
They are very good together.
Also, I love John C. Reilly. So
he's amazing. He's Mr. Cellophane. Should have been his name, Mr. Cellophane, because you can look right through him. Okay. I like John C. Reilly. Go Chicago. But Min, do we have anything left to say about Min?
No.
I have nothing to say about her. What about Avienda?
I hate her. I hated everything about all that crap with stupid drips. But all you had to do was ask, and we would have said you stop. Now you're wise because you asked. Like wise people ask questions. Gosh, dang it! Why did I listen to hours of this complaining?
I didn't actually mind that. I was fine with her just randomly doing stuff because at least
Sanderson
doing
loves to build something up just to be like,
oh my god, I hate that he does that.
know.
It happens so many times.
I didn't like it, and that's what it was with this Avienda thing, where it was built up and built up and built up, and then it was just like, boop, nothing. Like, come on!
I'm gonna give you 8 pages of what we're gonna tell you when this person gets into town. Will we actually go into town? Probably not.
No, no, we won't.
It won't matter. It just won't matter. Rand's gonna maybe burn some people down, but then he doesn't. Just so you know. He thought about it, but then he didn't do it. I didn't mind Avienda in this novel because she's finally not just like in love with Elaine. Elaine and her are no longer in a romantic partnership. They have removed each other from each other's lives.
I think Brando was probably also annoyed by that and was like, I think he understands certain characters need to be separated that have been together too long, and also like some characters that have been separated too long need to be brought back. And he's trying to do that.
Well, because like it is gearing up for a final battle. I kind of wonder if Robert Jordan never would have finished the series if he would have just kept going and going and going and going.
Why not? You can make zillions of these mass market paperbacks with the adorable covers and just keep selling them. Why not?
And that's what he did. So I think he would have just kept going. And the Brandon Sanderson was like, listen, I don't want to keep writing these. Like, I'm going to write 3 and be done.
I've got my own things to do here.
I'm writing a million other books. I can't be expected to keep up with.
Let me finish off this old guy's work, and then I will get back to you.
Right. So I do think he's like much better at that kind of stuff of like, hey, we're going to finish this up. We're going to keep it trucking along at a nice and fast pace, and we'll get through it.
Right.
So I am glad that he did mix it up a little bit with the characters. I actually didn't mind Avienda in this because there's at least some personal growth. Like, I like that she kind of
asked a question, tried to send help.
Again, she finally gave stakes to her character. Like, I know in the next couple books, she's like, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to become a wise one so that I can finally...
because that's been her goal all along.
I mean, that's stupid. It helps that like I didn't have books and books and books of her like with Nynaeve, because with Nynaeve, I'm like, I know Nynaeve. This is not Nynaeve. This is some random version of her, you know. With Avienda, I think I didn't know her at all. So anything you taught me about her, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll believe it, you know. So her suddenly being like, okay, well, I'm gonna be I do wish it hadn't been like, I've always wanted to be a wise one. This is my most precious wish. Like, that was stupid, because it's like, no, you didn't.
Me secretly being like, like, no, I never said that.
My throne. It's like, she, you know.
Yeah.
I wish
whispered
that
off screen.
I wish that hadn't been part of it, but I do like if she had a sudden moment where she's like, okay, well, working with Elaine, I decided that becoming a wise one is the best way to come into my own. That would have worked for me, you know, like some kind of reason to it. But her becoming a wise one and then like saying like, I need to be on equal footing with Rand because as an Aiel person, we believe meeting each other on each other's level. So that's my main goal. I'm like, oh, okay. I believe that. Like, I believe that storyline. And so it gives her actual stakes, and I appreciate that. And I think I just like someone who's trying to get there emotionally, as you said. And
yeah, I'm not there emotionally.
I'm not there emotionally. You guys go on ahead without me. At least she's working on herself, and she's not like Elaine, who's like, I will marry him one day. Like, you know,
creepily. Yeah.
I do think it's still creepy that Avienda is like, hey, we've all agreed we're going to share him. And then she's like, I don't know if I like you, Min. And it's like, okay, calm down. You're the one who's the most okay with polyamory.
So. Yeah, I hated that was back where it was like, I don't like sharing him. Like,
don't you?
I thought we were done with this. You guys kind of came to common ground.
I didn't like that part. But everything else about her, I kind of liked. I like that she has stakes now. I like that she's like, okay, here's my purpose over the next 3 novels, setting it up for a character who we didn't really care about before this moment. I'm here for. So it lets me get her stakes. I actually didn't mind the whole, like, they're making me do stupid shit until I ask a question. Because at least there was a purpose. It wasn't like Matt's thing where it's like, I built up all these facades and it's like, what was that for?
Right.
For us to make a couple jokes. That's all. Like, at least with the Avienda stuff, all of her things were leading towards something where it's like, hey, you still have to learn as a wise one. And you have to learn that like our ways are not 1000% right. Like, you have to be willing to ask a question. Sometimes you have to be willing to, cause like, I think that's actually something I could buy into with people is like, people are often hold back from certain things because they're ashamed. Like, people don't want to say, I don't know the answer to that question because we all have this weird shame about not knowing. And so I actually like that there was a lesson in there where it's like, hey, if I ask a question, it brings shame upon me. And they're like, yes, we were all taught that, but to be a wise one, you have to accept that shame if it means gaining knowledge. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thought. And so I liked that portion of the novel.
Did you ever in college have to do like those job interview practice things?
I have had to do a practice interview in law school, but not during college.
I had to go to several of them during college. And I remember they would always like praise you if they would ask you a question and you didn't know the answer. And you were like, I'm not sure, but I will look into it and can get back to you. There's some contact information you can give me. And people would be like, oh, that was excellent. The way that you answered that. You should never lie. And so that's what that reminded me of, you saying that. I
mean, that is very fair.
That brings me back to job fairs.
Sorry for that flashback. Hate to do that to anyone. Yeah, I just think too many people want to pretend they know stuff they don't. I do it too. I'm not saying
it's better off just to, look into it and find the answer.
So I actually like that Avienda has stakes, but she's still ridiculous. Anyone else we need to discuss?
I mean, there's Tuan.
Oh, Tuan. Oh, I fucking hate Tuan.
Same. Do not like her.
She's the worst.
She's really bad. She's really, really bad. He didn't improve upon her, but I think he also hates her. I don't know what he could do to help her.
I don't know, because I get it. Again,
there was a chapter called The Death of Tuan. And I was like, oh, he hates her so much, he's gonna kill her, and then it didn't happen.
Just her giving up her old name.
Yeah,
I do want to reiterate that I find Tuan's character incredibly problematic, because she is one of the few definite people of color in this novel, and to have her be the imperialist, again, most I don't know the entire history of people of color, but most people who are imperialists happen to be white. Like, that's just a fact. And so the fact that this book series is built upon someone who is not white being the imperialist is incredibly problematic. We don't live in a world where that's okay yet, and I don't like it at all. So it makes me physically uncomfortable when they discuss things like that. And I will repeat it again because I think it should be repeated again. So that's kind of all I have to say about Tuan.
Yeah, I don't have anything on her. She's awful.
I think she's awful, and I think it's dangerous to create characters like this.
Yeah.
So,
and then there's Fail.
Who's gotten a lobotomy.
This is not the same person.
Perrin, why would I be jealous? It took me forever to sleep with you. What?
Perrin, what? I believe you. You did not cheat on me with Lane. It's okay. You are a good person, Perrin. I love you. Power off.
Yeah, that's pretty much. They pulled an IT crowd and they tried turning her on and off again, and she came back a completely new person.
It's Stepford Wives. They Stepford Wives her.
Oh my gosh, she's so weird. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to have a character change, have her change on the page. Don't just suddenly have her be different. Be like, all this trauma has led me to realize that my own insecurities were getting in the way of us having a happy marriage. And I spent time apart from you, and it's the worst moment of my life. So I'm not going to waste another minute with you. Yeah. Fine. I believe her. Her being like, oh God, Perrin, you're so stupid. Why would I ever have that reaction? It's like, because he's been married to you for a while. He kind of just expected it. Oh, I expected it, and I'm not married to you.
We were all expecting it.
It's the worst.
Anybody else?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think of note.
Oh,
if we can't think of them. Oh yeah, there's Swan. She's doing a lot of laundry.
And she's the only one who can do his laundry.
She's finally. I also have a ton of laundry to do.
Do you also, like, if someone came in and wanted to do your husband's laundry, would you be like, no, that's mine?
No, I would not. I would let them do it.
Right?
Anybody that can do some of this laundry, got it.
Yeah, she's finally admitting to Gareth Bryn her feelings. They're going to get married. I can't wait for the TV show when her happy ending is with Maureen. I hope that that's the happy ending that they get. I do not care about her, Gareth Bryn.
Yeah,
I couldn't care less.
Odd.
It's weird. I like the whole, like, learning about the backstory of why she and Maureen were so obsessed with the Dragon Reborn, and being like, hey,
that was good.
That was great. Why she broke the oath, why she felt it was necessary. I really liked that growth of her character. To like, again, it's not so much growth, it's just adding context to a character.
I was gonna say it's background.
Yeah, it's background, but it was necessary background because we didn't know any of that stuff. And
we didn't. Robert Jordan assumed we knew.
I thought you knew.
I thought I told you guys that. Like, didn't I mention that?
No. Oh, weird. But yeah, I liked her background stuff. I'm glad that she's not the same one who's like, oh, I may bloody well be in love with the man. It's like, oh, I could have gone forever without hearing that ever again.
No.
But yeah, so good job, Swan. I'm glad to see personal growth from you. I'm glad to see personal growth from Avienda. I'm so sorry that Nynaeve has left the book series and now we have a robot for her and Fail. So yeah. Anything else to add?
Kudos, Brando Sando.
Fuck Colin Bridgerton.
Done the impossible.
You did do the impossible. We really enjoyed this book.
Ben over at Literature and Lo-Fi said that I sound like a broken record, so I'm going to repeat it again for him. Brando Sandos should have been writing this entire series.
He said you sounded like a broken record?
Yeah.
How dare you?
I don't care. I'll repeat it again. Brando Sando should have written this entire series.
I'm going to repeat that. Brando Sando should have written this entire series. Come on.
I'll say it a million times.
A million times, yes. Okay, well, next week we will be covering the first half of Towers of Midnight. That is the prologue through chapter 28.
I like that there's not as many chapters.
I know. It's nice.
It's nice.
It's very nice. It's
not like we had to get through 50.
So that will be fun. Everyone should join and follow along as we get into the next book and see what Brando Sando has in store for us. Will we see how he's changed Elaine? Dear God, I hope so. Has he fixed her? Dear God, I hope so.
I'm afraid.
I mean, she'll still be Gregnant with her Greg.
Because who else will probably be back? Galad.
Oh,
we didn't see him.
Again, Galad a book ago, though, was avenging the death of his the rape of his stepmom. And I didn't mind him as much. He was less annoying than Gawain, the fascist. So that says the fascist is better than Gawain. He's been
less annoying than Gawain. So there's that.
And now he's in love with Nynaeve. So poor man will be brokenhearted twice. Oh my God. Even with Ingrid in this book being like, I'm so glad I chose Gawain. It's like, why?
We're not, but okay.
We're not. Poor Ingrid. He may not be as pretty as his brother, but he's definitely prettier than Olver.
Poor Olver. That's how I want to end this. Poor Olver.
We need to start having merch with Justice for Olver, just so Laura can wear it around and be like, listen, the Wheel of Time books.
People be like, what does that mean?
I'm wondering if there's character
bird
pictures
skeleton and then it says Justice for Olver.
Oh my God. Oh, the poor pictures of Olver. Google.
Do not even tell me the fan art makes him hideous.
It does.
Fans?
I'm gonna share my screen.
Come on, fans.
Oh, host is disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, sorry.
You should Google Olver Wheel
now.
of Time and hit images.
I'm gonna be so upset with people. Why?
There's one where they just have the little guy from the Mad Libs or from the Mad TV comic.
Yeah. What? That's
so bad.
Something's not right here. This is terrible, people.
I mean,
nice.
when he turns 13.
There's this strange. Okay. I don't know. Somebody made trading cards. And there's this strange legendary creature. It says human survivor, Olver, adopted by the band. And the picture, come on.
Poor Olver. He's just a child. Just don't comment on his beauty and how much he likes boobs, okay?
Poor Olver.
Oh my God. There's a fan art of Tuan and Matt. Because Tuan's supposed to be so short, Matt is hunched
a giant
over. He's this shocking turn.
No. Just come on, people. Why?
Oh God, that's so strange. And then she's you know how when people kiss, if you're taller, the person who's shorter usually lifts up a little bit.
Yeah.
Her head is staring directly straight out. So
she's not gonna give at all.
She's just you can meet me down here.
Get down here.
God, fan art, guys.
There's a weird one of Matt sitting in a chair and Olver, a very small boy. This looks like a very young child, like playing dice at his feet.
I mean, he does play dice at his feet a lot. Wow. Poor Olver. He's just a child, guys.
Justice for Olver.
Justice for Olver. Need to make Laura that t-shirt next. Okay, but yes, join us next week. And before that, you guys should rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Rating, reviewing, subscribing really does help other people come and join in on this wonderful conversation about Justice for Olver and Bridgerton, the two most important topics we've ever discussed on this podcast. Yes. You should also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Our Pod. That's OWWR Pod. Or email us at ourpod@gmail.com. Right now, we are voting for our Indie Intermission. That will be up on Monday. Hannah had a little bit of a backtrack on that because she was sick with the flu this week. So she's feeling better, and we will get voting on Monday, and voting will be going on until we figure out what we will be covering after we are finished with the Wheel of Time. Also, make sure that you guys are getting the Poppy War trilogy, because we will be what is it again? It is Blazing Through the Poppy Wars right after this. So we hope you guys join us next week and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.